Hello there and welcome to Vios Fertility. My name is Kelly and we are happy that you've joined us for your fertility care. We look forward to going on this journey with you, and in doing so we know how important the financial aspect is. So we've taken a little bit of time to create this video to help give you a better understanding of your coverage and any kind of potential out-of-pocket expenses. In this video we will review basic insurance terminology, what infertility services are covered according to your policy details such as deductible, co-pays, co-insurance, and out-of-pocket maxes, and any specific requirements that your insurance will need from you. Health insurance is often complicated and very confusing, and so we've put together a list of basic terminology that you'll hear very often throughout this journey, and then also where to find that information according to your own policy. Your deductible is the amount that you are responsible for before your insurance company starts contributing and will depend on the policy that you have selected. Your deductible is cumulative and can be met by paying for services at any of your healthcare providers. For example, if your insurance policy has a $1,000 deductible per year, you would have to pay this amount out of pocket to one or more of your healthcare providers. Your copay is the amount you pay for office visits or other services once your deductible is met, or can also contribute towards meeting your deductible. This amount can vary based on your policy that you've selected and depending on the type of visit or service you are receiving. Co-insurance is the amount of your medical services that you are required to pay even after you've met your deductible. For example, if your policy has a 20% co-insurance and the total cost of your visit is $200, then your insurance will pay 80%, which is $160, and your responsibility would be the remaining 20%, which amounts to $40. Your policy will have an out-of-pocket max limit, which is the most that you will have to pay during your policy period. If you reach that dollar amount, your insurance will then pay 100% of the contracted rates for your covered services. Prior to your first appointment, our team will reach out to your insurance company to find out what type of infertility coverage you have. We'll then put that information in a report form that your patient coordinator will give to you at your initial visit. Please remember that this information is needed at least 2 days before your first appointment, and to also bring a copy of your insurance card and picture ID. Our goal is to make this process as easy for you as possible. While this is a courtesy that we perform for our patients, it is important that you can confirm these details as well with your insurance company. To access your verification of benefits report on the patient portal, check your email for setup and login instructions if you haven't done so already. Go to the patient portal login screen and enter your credentials, then select My Documents and click to open the VOB report. This report will help you predict current and future costs associated with your treatment at Vios. As you can see, it has policy-specific information such as your covered services, deductibles, co-pays, co-insurances, and your annual out-of-pocket max. It is important to note that if conflicting information is found, it is your responsibility to call your insurance member services line for policy details. Now let's take a closer look at how to read this information. The highlighted portion is where you will find your policy information, such as subscriber details, contact information, and whether or not your Vios physician is in network, and as well as your reference information for all the details obtained in your report. If you have a partner, their name will be listed on your report. However, that doesn't always mean that they are on the policy. In this example, the patient's deductible is $500, and so far she has met $325.32. In order for her insurance to begin paying on her medical claims, she will need to pay the remaining portion of what's left of her deductible, which is $174.68. Her annual out-of-pocket max is $3,000, and she has met $755.32. So an additional $2,244.68 is needed in order for her insurance to pay 100% of her claims, as always subject to the contracted amounts. At your first appointment, you will be asked to pay your copay amounts, if this is applicable. In this example, the patient has a $50 specialist office visit copay, and then the policy will pay 100% of the office visit charges. This is labeled as NDOV copay/co-insurance. When a follow-up appointment is scheduled to begin your evaluation, your benefits according to the US and lab copay/coinsurance will apply. In this case, the patient does not have a copay, but the coverage is subject to the policy's coinsurance rate of 80%. According to the definition of coinsurance, this is the amount that you will pay instead of or in addition to your deductible. If your total service charges are $400 and your policy pays at an 80% coinsurance after satisfying your deductible, you would pay the amount needed to meet your deductible, which is $174.68 from the example above, then 20% of the remaining charges. The calculations above can be applied to all of your covered services. Now that we've discussed some of the basic terminology with you, as well as how to break down some of those financial expectations, we want to break down a little bit further and tell you what type of coverage option you have. There are 5 different options here: none, diagnostic only, diagnostic and underlying medical costs, diagnostic and IUI only, diagnostic and treatment coverage. It's important to note that all of these coverage options are subject to your plan details, exclusions, and limitations. You can see your coverage type on the top right of your VOB report. Policy type none means that no infertility services will be covered by your insurance. To help make this a little bit more affordable for our self-pay patients, we have financial partners that will help break down some of the costs for you in payment plan options. Diagnostic only is a policy that will pay up until the point of having a medical diagnosis. Once you've been diagnosed by a physician, such as you go to your OBGYN and they give you Clomid to help you ovulate or to stimulate ovulation, but then they coded that as infertility. According to your insurance, you've already been diagnosed as infertile and they will no longer pay for any additional testing for diagnostic. Diagnostic and underlying cause. This type of coverage will pay for the services needed to diagnose a condition and the treatment of that medical condition. So for example, we have a patient that comes in for a uterine evaluation and we discover that there is something obstructing her from being able to conceive. Your insurance is agreeing now to pay for whatever kind of corrective surgery she would need to have or to restore her back to a normal state. However, your insurance will not pay to have treatment services that would aid in conception. Diagnostic and IUI only. This type of policy will have coverage for diagnostic and testing services as well as for the procedure of intrauterine insemination, or sometimes called artificial insemination. So they'll cover things like blood work, scans, and other procedures needed to diagnose your issue, and cover the actual intrauterine insemination or artificial insemination, but not IVF. Diagnostic and treatment policies. This type of policy will cover both diagnostic and the services needed for most or all treatment options. Some of these will include timed intercourse, artificial insemination, or intrauterine insemination, as well as in vitro fertilization, also known as IVF. Some services, such as genetic testing or more experimental treatments, may not be covered by your insurance and will be subject to your policy's exclusions, limitations, or just regular guidelines. And that's something that our insurance coordinators will go over with you once you've decided on a treatment option. Let's take a look at an example. On this VOB report, you will see that this patient has diagnostic and treatment coverage. The patient's policy limits the number of IUIs or artificial insemination attempts to 6 times per calendar year and 4 in vitro fertilization attempts per lifetime. Additionally, they have a lifetime max infertility benefit amount of $20,000, and as of the date of verification, nothing had been met towards that amount, which means they just haven't used any of their infertility benefits yet. Additional elements of treatment will be marked as either covered, not covered, or limited coverage. In this case, assisted hatching is covered, cryopreservation is not covered, and donor coverage is limited. Limited coverage will be specific to your policy, and some items will be covered while others you will have to pay out of pocket for. As we are verifying your benefits, sometimes your insurance company will give us specific requirements. These can be things like needing a referral to be seen by our physician, or needing prior authorization for some services, or having to have you register with an infertility program before we see you. Knowing these special requirements will allow you to move through this process a little bit more smoothly without any kind of interruptions from your insurance company. Please keep in mind that the verification of benefits report that we've customized for you is specific to your treatment here at Vios Fertility, but it's not a guarantee of coverage. It's very important that you reach out to your insurance company to verify your benefits for yourself and review any details or questions that you have for them if you haven't already done so. We hope that this has been helpful and that you better understand your benefits. If you have any additional questions, we have an entire team waiting to answer any of them for you, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Until then, take care.